What if I told you that the chaos we thought would never get much louder turned nuclear? Yes, that is accurate. Jim Jones went farther than anybody could have imagined after weeks of rumors, smashing society with memes and leaked recordings. Get over your grief. Set aside the tantrums. This time he had receipts. Some receipts, according to insiders, were never supposed to be used. Emails, photos, and even behind-the-scenes recordings that target Chrissy's spouse. In particular, the man the world has been obsessed with ever since that startling wedding announcement. Furthermore, these receipts reveal a dark truth that might radically upend all things. Blogs are already stating that this is the final straw. Detectives are connecting in real time on Twitter, which is driving them insane. It was stated clearly in one malware thread, Jim had no resentment. Jim had warned us. Furthermore, there are further questions now that these receipts have been made public. Who is the husband of Chrissy? Actually, what has he been hiding in the shadows while beaming in the spotlight? And why does Jim believe that disclosing this fact would end it? Careers, friendships, and maybe even Chrissy's entire new marriage before it actually begins. But this is the twist. The receipts drag not just Chrissy's hubby. They dragged Chrissy herself, illustrating a more serious treachery. Fans could never have imagined it would be colder and more calculated. The internet assumed that love was involved. After hearing what's in Jim's receipts, which show that it's about power, you won't be able to view Chrissy or her husband in the same light. The moment those receipts surfaced on the internet, everything changed. A horrible audio leak incident turned into a full-fledged cultural earthquake. The initial screenshots were followed by more lucid ones that were hazy and nearly surreal. Jim Jones was no longer shouting into a hot microphone. All of a sudden, he was loading up on proof. There was more to this evidence than just hints or bitter jealousy. Name, numbers, and dates all indicated that Chrissy's new spouse was involved in unanticipated activities. Blogs were boiling, the streets were vibrating, and Twitter investigators could smell blood. It all started when a famous Agasa website emerged. They said it was an anonymous donation, a string of emails that appeared to be casual discussions between an Atlanta promoter and Chrissy's husband. They appeared harmless at first. The subtitles beneath, however, told a worse story. Unreported deals, money transfers, concealing stuff, and a single phrase that went viral on the internet. Don't tell Jimmy anything. As soon as they read it, fans lost their minds. Did the audio leak hint at Jim's soil like this? Was this the betrayal that extended beyond Chrissy's sudden proposal of marriage? Hashtags like Jimmy was correct and ReceiptGate became viral within hours. Fans began capturing screenshots of the emails, expanding the dates, highlighting details, and making a timeline. A widely circulated post claims that the receipts showed that Chrissy's spouse moved using burner accounts and aliases, funds and practices that were at best questionable, at worst illegal. The worst thing is that Jim and Chrissy were still together on several of those dates jointly. Suddenly, the heartache was more than just a broken heart. It has to do with trust, loyalty, and power battles that occur in private. The emails weren't the only startling thing, but a revelation. A blurry backstage video clip that was allegedly taken as Chrissy announced her engagement on the show. The video showed Jim storming offstage, but this time the perspective was different. A few paces away, Chrissy's husband could be seen smiling and folding his arms while Jim roared. In the leaked recording, fans had only heard wrath. Now they could see the body language. The husband was uncomfortable, but he was not nervous. He exuded confidence and haughtiness as though he had already triumphed. TikTok went into meltdown mode with just one video. This wasn't heartbreak. Some fans commented, "It was a war," Jim said in the comments area before adding, "Put petrol on the flames." Rather than posting directly, he shared a screenshot of one of the alleged receipts on his Instagram story along with a single comment. They burst like dynamite all over the internet after I told you 3 words. Not a long explanation or a tirade. The implied meaning was clear. Jim wasn't deceiving anyone. He had the evidence in his possession. If this was just the beginning, fans could only wonder what else he might have concealed. According to insiders, the producers were in chaos behind the scenes. According to reports, VH1 executives called urgent meetings to decide whether to embrace the uproar or hide the footage. Some contended that disclosing this would damage the program and damage Chrissy's reputation. Consequently, they desired to safeguard her and her scheme. Others perceived a gold-rated smell. Nothing needs to be scripted anymore. Writing is the drama itself. An insider allegedly texted, but one executive purportedly warned, if Jim has more receipts and we air this, it could get dangerous. Chrissy's silence grew as we started experimenting with lives instead of just emotions. More loudly, following the receipts were revealed, followers noticed that she didn't publish anything for 48 hours. Oh, no photographs of rings. No enigmatic captions. Silence speaks louder than words in today's environment. People started to speculate, was her husband hiding more secrets than anyone was aware of? Was she trying to limit the harm behind the scenes, or was she letting the storm pass on purpose? Indeed, fans would eventually let go, but instead of going on, the internet goes deeper. On Twitter threads, old footage of Chrissy and Jim's time on Love and Hip Hop began to resurface, replaying situations in which Jim had accused her of being untruthful or keeping secrets. The old arguments suddenly took on new relevance, and fans started fusing them with the pilfered-in voices too. Produced viral alterations that, in a cruel TikTok, portrayed Chrissy's husband as a mysterious figure who had always been prepared to take her place. Jim was usually waiting in the shadows, but no one could find him. Celebrities also began to make comments, which fueled the flames even more. Receipts typically undermine a fairy tale. According to the cryptic tweet of Remy Ma in response to a rumor post, Cardi B said, "This tea is too hot." Along with the caption, "Jimmy has been saving these like student loans." 50 Cent shared a photo of Jim holding a pile of fake invoices. Even though he deleted the screenshot minutes later, it had already gone viral. But the real surprise occurred late that night when an anonymous production assistant made a horrifying claim in stating that the hacked emails weren't the worst of it in a direct message to a gossip website. They claimed that Jim had videos of Chrissy's husband in settings that would make the receipts appear muted. It won't only be, the aide continued. If those drop, Chrissy's marriage is in question. It will affect both his and possibly her entire reputation. One message turned the internet into a battlefield. Supporters started speculating about what such videos might show. Secret encounters, dubious business dealings, or even indications of betrayal that went beyond romance. By the time the first phase ended, the culture was divided. One thing, nevertheless, was clear. This was more than just heartache. It was an out-of-control controversy. Jim had the receipts with him. Both Chrissy's spouse and the blogosphere had the story in front of us. His entire character was falling apart. The cliffhanger was making everyone gasp. Jim has earlier emails and footage. When would he decide to let it go? What else did he have on his seat? The morning following the receipts release, it was a war on the internet. The comment sections were smoking, Twitter threads consisted of hundreds of tweets, and TikTok producers were already acting out Jim Jones's comments as though they were from Shakespeare. In the hood, what had begun as a furious backstage outburst had evolved into a cultural problem. Jim was no longer just the hurt exiter with Chrissy's husband in the middle. The internet was positive that the person with the receipts was merely starting. In just a few hours, more evidence started to fall like bombs. A blog known for causing controversy posted what they claimed to be text messages between Chrissy's and an unnamed promoter, hubby. The writings were devastating in spite of their brief duration. Don't put this on the record. Jimmy doesn't have to see this, you know. In one Twitter post, the spouse allegedly wrote with a single sentence into chaos. The email line was nearly identical to the one from the night before. Fans were suddenly calling for constancy. This is actual. The guy is careless. He's one highly posted tweet said, leaving the same, "How are you trying to be the king when you're moving like a rookie?" responded another. But when fans started connecting, it was the supposed message to a friend. "I mean, he has nothing on me." It became darker here though. The man on the recording stated, "It might get messy unless he starts pulling old files." Giggling. Fans immediately went bonkers. Outdated records. What files? Went bonkers. Outdated records. What files? Did Jim actually have a hidden stockpile of dirt? Was this that he's been making references to it ever since the audio leak started? Wasted web pitches. It takes no time to spin hypothesis. Some said that the old records contained details about street-related business dealings that linked Chrissy's husband to acts that were not desired to be made public. Some speculated that it might be related to adultery and that her new husband was just another man with competing interests, rather than the hero she had made him up to be. Regardless, the internet was certain that this wasn't just a heartache. Beyond romance, this was about secrets, power, and reputation. But Chrissy remained silent. Not a post, not a word, not even a clip. Additionally, quiet is never objective when it comes to reality TV. It's a strategy. In anticipation of Jim's impending release, fans began to believe that her PR team was working particularly hard behind the scenes. However, silence also gave her opponents all the room they needed to make up the story. A private message, supposedly from Chrissy's team, was also posted by one rumor account, which stated, "She knows Jim has receipts." She's whether true or not, the plot was already set. Chrissy was in hiding. But Jim was acting in the hole conversely. He went live on Instagram for 7 minutes, pacing his homeroom with a gruff voice and red eyes. He didn't mention Chrissy's husband specifically, but he said, "Don't play with me," into the camera, with a tinge of fear in his voice. I have files, and I've been keeping things to myself out of deference. Yet, respect has been lost. They still act as though I'm resentful. When the truths are exposed, I'm a show that becomes quite resentful. The comment area came alive right away. Spam from fans. Give up the files. Jim made them known. Are we ready to go? Then there seemed to be another leak on cue that at the time it wasn't SMS or emails. There was a shaky video from years ago that clearly showed Chrissy's husband sitting at a club table with men connected to Dipset affiliates. Despite the muted audio, one voice went viral on the internet. Although Jim was out of sight, you could hear him laughing, clinking drinks, and referring to someone as family. The guy in the video was called by fans who froze him in the corner and shouted that Chrissy's husband was sitting in Jim's inner circle years before he ever appeared as Chrissy's boyfriend. Jim's published audio, in which he claimed to have been circling, always in the cut and waiting for me to slip, cause the internet to blow up, seemingly unquestionable when contrasted side by side. Chrissy's spouse wasn't just any old individual. He was in hiding. For years, Jim's fans were more than just rumors. They felt furious. One tweet stated, "That's not a new man. For 15 years, that has been a betrayal." Chrissy didn't just go on, she got better from the inside out. That is abhorrent. Even celebrities couldn't resist making comments. I have never seen a backdoor play so filthy. After playing the receipts on Hot 97, Funkflex commented, "You're unable to..." I wasn't using the comment to strategize, my friend. From the beginning, I've been a shadow. A meme with Chrissy's husband masquerading as Jim's shadow was reposted by Cardi B. Reject your backup plan. Become your go-to strategy if it means being rude to the guy. Remy Ma finally joined the live Girls Who Feed You. Despite her best efforts to maintain objectivity before he had even spoken, Chrissy's husband was losing the PR fight and society was consuming it. Later that night, Chrissy's husband went live and his voice could be heard in a grainy video that was clearly taken on a tabletop phone. He was defensive but unsteady. "No matter what Jimmy says, I'm here. All I am is her spouse." I took over where his fans momentarily thought, which is why he's furious. She chose calm over upheaval, so don't blame me. He wasted his 15 years. He seemed calm and seemed confident, but the comments soon turned nasty. "Peace, don't sweat like that. If you clean, why? Jim says he got files." Someone added, "Within minutes, the spouse was fired." The livestream abruptly stopping mid-sentence while the comment section tore him to pieces. The story was altered once again by that one mistake. Instead of clearing his name, Jim exploited the husband's unsteady appearance by posting a mysterious story, an emoji of a manila folder and a clock. A few hours later, supporters flooded Twitter with memes, including emojis and the phrase TikTok, warning others about the upcoming files, causing the internet to erupt as if it were a mixtape release. Some even joked behind the scenes about setting alarms and waiting for the next leak. Insiders said that producers were completely terrified. According to one released email, while some performers were worried it may backfire, others debated whether to videotape an emergency meeting with Chrissy, and her husband to guide the narrative. On camera, Jim walks into the room with receipts. We lose command. TV rules are no longer being followed. According to reports, one executive wrote, "He's engaging in blood sports." By the end of part 2, people weren't asking whether the community was left hanging on a single explosive question when Jim unloaded his additional information. What was Jim's dirt exactly? Did those files contain anything that could have prevented Chrissy from getting married in the first place? As the clock hit midnight, the community held its breath. The enigmatic TikTok post had been replayed, analyzed, and memed on all of Jim Jones's platforms, and neither followers nor bloggers were sleeping. Then a lot of celebrities were glued to their phones, watching Twitter to see if the files would actually drop. He was about to call it a bluff when Jim moved. His Instagram story featured a wobbly screen grab in only 10 moments. Long yet enough to divide the internet in two. Several screenshots of what appeared to be email conversations were presented. In the video, "This ain't about heartbreak" was the caption was the crucial point. Between unclear contracts and financial transfers. Find out from your spouse why he met with promoters on my behalf. A betrayal that one line erupted throughout society, and in a way that the hashtags Jim Files and Chris's husband were popular within minutes. The tale had undoubtedly left the realm. There were a lot of rumors that it was a huge cultural scandal. The chaos didn't stop there, though. A more vicious version of the leak appeared an hour later on a gossip website that was infamous for promoting news that was too hot to publish. Zed enclosed what appeared to be signed contracts with Chrissy's husband's name. Thus, it was more than just a bank transfer. Transactions that allegedly drained money by using Jim's connections. If this was true, it was more than just betrayal. It was fraud. Fans went bonkers. Yo, this man wasn't just circling Chrissy, but he was also circling Jim's pockets. Jim referred to him as an understudy since he wasn't merely someone tweeted. The websites went crazy. Articles shot across feeds, and he was plotting the throne in Chrissy. Documents that were leaked confirmed Jim's claims. In a business dispute, Chrissy's spouse came to light. A fraud scheme was linked to a famous hip-hop artist. Chrissy's name wasn't the only one going around. For the first time, rumors also included her husband's full formal name. The internet wasn't merely ridiculing him. He was being handled like the antagonist of a Netflix documentary, who was extensively memed and analyzed on blogs and Twitter threads. But Jim didn't stop with a single leak. He published further bits every several hours, like a text thread or a voicemail sample, like clockwork. Chrissy's husband was allegedly messaging a promoter there. Jimmy is not necessary for her to learn this. Another showed pictures allegedly of him exploiting Jim's name to obtain appointments. Finally, a recording of Jim's voice from years ago warning someone in his social circle that Snake is too close to home is the most eerie thing yet. Supporters declared that Snake was the spouse of Chrissy, partner. By this time, Chrissy was no longer able to remain silent.